Hey everybody, Mind's Eye Visual Guitar Methods here, back for our today Sunday lesson, or that's the day we're recording it. Anyways, to just try to get to the point here, because I got called out on my last lesson to where I went right through the explanation to get to the point at the end of the video. Here I'm going to try to do it a little different and get you right to the point, and then we'll explain. I don't know. Anyways, we'll try to make this as concise and understandable as possible. And so today is about the control surface, or really mastering pentatonics. A lot of people are thinking, "Oh man, I'm so sick of it," and I can know why. You're sick of doing this. Everybody's done that, so you want to, make your jazz sounds and sound different and fusion and everything. But really, the truth is, like when it comes to the major scale, there's actually three pentatonic shapes built into it that are the whole fretboard of the guitar. So the truth is, there's no escaping it. It's really not possible. Any place I play on the fretboard, if I play in C major here, I'm playing somewhere across a pentatonic box. So there's no escaping it. And so the trick is to actually master it. And I'm going to really show you some details today that I've never seen anybody else talk about. It's how to get basically any mode, any chord can all be understood in this pentatonic box. As a matter of fact, this pentatonic makes like a container for almost everything you need to know if you just really know the dynamics I'm going to show you in today's lesson. So let's go. Now, all we need to do, even though there's 5 different pentatonic shapes, and what I tell you today applies to every one of the shapes, what we need to understand today is the basic shape that we all know. The shape we all know and love, the 1-4, 1-3, 1-3, 1-3, 1-4, 1-4. All right, so that being said, let's get that understood. Gonna move some things around so I got some visuals I can see here. All right, so we know this shape, so let's understand it more. So we're gonna break this box. So the first thing to understand this lesson, hey, you know what? I told you guys I'd get you right to the point. So here it is. Basically, it's inside of here. We're gonna call this the control surface. Or the choice box. I'm going to call it in this video the control surface, but it's basically where you can choose. Number one, if you consider that this pentatonic box is actually just an arpeggio plus 1. And think about it, an arpeggio is 4 notes, a pentatonic is 5 notes. Where's that 5th note coming from? It's an arpeggio plus 1. So if you make your pentatonic a minor pentatonic, and if you don't know how to do minor and major pentatonic yet, it's going to be explained later in the video. But let's just say you know that, or you don't even need to know that. We're just talking about this box. The notes that are in this area here where the cursor is circling right now is the control area. So if I add in 2 of those notes, I can get to any note of the major scale. I can basically turn this pentatonic box into exactly all the notes I need to cater to the 6 chord, or to the 4 chord, or to the 1 chord. And we're going to show you how, which means that you're connecting to modes, which means that there's a couple other implications, but that'll come up in the lesson. So let's break this down into 2 separate box shapes, even though it's technically one shape, and the one is just an inverse of the other. So if we scroll down, we're going to see these 2 shapes here. Basically, this shape, I don't know why I didn't draw it out, but let me draw it out the way I originally visualized the lesson here. So what are we doing here? Why is this thing? It's acting kind of funny right now for no reason at all. Why am I getting this? me try something here. Well, that was weird. Okay. All right. Well, in any event, things just got back to normal. I don't know what happened there. Probably something. Uh, but this is what we're breaking up. In case it's not clear here, I think it is. But basically, this pentatonic box is this shape and this shape. What I'm talking about here is this one here that I'm circling that looks like a tic-tac-toe box. That actually is this shape. If I basically, it's this shape here. And I'm going to have to overwrite my words here. So there and there. Kabam. So if I were to take, like, this box is basically, it's the same exact notes here and here. So, like, here's my pentatonic shape that we just went over. So if I go, it's also, you can hear it's the same notes. All right. But it looks different, and we'll treat it as such because it's basically the inside is where you have these empty spaces or empty frets that you can use to add in the extra notes that you need to turn a 5-note scale into a 7-note scale. But anyway, so here we go. So box 1, this is the control box. This is we're going to call this big shape right here box number 1. I'll just make it so clear here. Box number 1. And then box number 2, which is actually these shapes. All right, so as you can see, this gives us the control box or the choice box that we talked about. So in yellow, we have the control area. This particular shape has it internally. All right, so this shape down here has it externally, as you can see from the yellow dots here. That would be the same exact notes. So in other words, like, so if I'm using, let's say I've chosen to add in these 2 notes here, then it's the ones on the left side are the ones on the right side, and the ones on the right side are the ones on the left side. It's the same exact notes, as you can see here. Alright, so now, also in the middle here you have basically these you have the same notes in this control box. They're hanging on the outside. So that actually leaves a control surface in here of X, Y, and Z. We'll talk about those a little bit later, but those are basically the final notes, which gives you control of all 12 notes now in this pentatonic box like you never knew. These would basically be the black keys on the piano, plus whatever 2 you leave out in here, complete your 5 black keys of the piano. Pretty cool, right? So anyways, so this shape has the controls mounted externally, and we discuss X, Y, Z in a second. I'm just reading as I wrote out what I was trying to convey here. So what does it actually control? So like we said earlier, it's going to control the chord types. So in other words, if I'm playing a C, what is that? Oh, that's an A major 7 chord. I can catch get everything beyond a triad. This will make more sense in a second. I'll explain it when we get there. So let's just go over quick what does it control, and then we're going to be explained throughout the lesson. So it controls, you can be playing a major, you can be playing a minor chord, you can be playing a dominant chord, and get all the notes. Basically, like for example, if I'm playing like this shape and I'm considering C major. If my chord is a C major 7 chord, I can adjust the controls in here. We're going to show you how to do it. It's very easy to make it cater to a major 7 chord. But now there's a dominant 7 chord as well. Now that has a flatted 7. We'll see that in a second in case you're not, you're one of those people out there that are that this lesson is for, that are really new to these intervals and chord stuff. So, anyways, you got this sound instead of this sound. Elegant, major 7, party time, dominant 7th chord. Well, you can do that with this box because you have a choice of 7s. All right, and then what about a major chord? But now this chord is coming from the Lydian scale. Now, Lydian has a sharp 4. Well, guess what? This control surface gives you that control, because that's the, like, for example, when it comes to a major chord coming out of the major scale, you have a regular major chord, and then you have the dominant 7th chord, and then you have the chord that comes from the Lydian scale, and that Lydian scale is going to have a sharp 4 instead of a regular 4. And this major pentatonic box gives you those exact controls over those intervals. We're going to see it in a second. But like, I never realized that before. You actually have full control over what you're playing. What's the chord of the moment? Throw a pentatonic on it. It's going to take care of it. So in minor, you've got control over. We'll go over that in a second. So, anyways, the chord positions in the scale. So, like, from the 1, you're playing with a. We just went over that. So, like, a 4 chord is still a major 7 chord. So you're still going to use that major 7, but you're going to use that sharpened 4 to match. For example, if I was playing F from the key of C, I just played some keys pulled right out of, or chords pulled right out of the C major scale, so that it's clear that I was playing the 1 C, the 5, which is the dominant G dominant 7, and then 4. Hear how that? I chose the sharpened 4 to match that F major pentatonic. Let's visualize that. So you understand that the pentatonic scales are the entire fretboard. We went over that as well. All right, so let's get them all understood. So let's do major and minor all on the same fretboard. It doesn't really matter. I've positioned them here, both over the A an octave up, but this is movable, so it doesn't matter. We're not dealing with notes today. We're just showing you what you can do with this general shape. With this shape, you can put your, and this works for any of the other 5 shapes. All shapes of the pentatonic have this shape, and the box 1 and box 2 in just a different configuration. It's all just those 2 boxes, nothing else in the pentatonic box. So once you have these shapes in your mind's eye, you can control where your root is. So if my root using this shape is right here, then, like, for example, on A, it's A minor. Right, so we got their intervals understood. So we're trying to go for right now. How does this major and minor work with the same pentatonic? It's all where you put the root. So if I put the root on this note here, and I'm still on fret 5, like we were with our A minor shape, but now our root is here. Well, this is the note C. A sharp, B flat, B, C, A, B, C. And we get our major pentatonic scale. Cool. Well, I mean, with just to hear it everywhere, here's like an E major 7. So you got our roots understood, and you want to know where they're located in these shapes. So now let's just add in the intervals. So if we add in the intervals, something starts to materialize. So we're using the blue for the pentatonic scale, and then our roots are orange and red. I should have put this on the first screen, the screen that we were just at there. Apparently when I make these, it's a little bit. I don't know. I'm usually thinking different than I give the lesson, and it's kind of different. Anyways, so but that's me trying to make this a little less rambly. So hey guys, I'm trying, because I know my lessons can be kind of rambling sometimes. So with minor, a picture starts to appear. We can see that what we had mentioned earlier, that the pentatonic is really, and it might be, maybe I'm going to mention that coming up. It's an arpeggio plus 1. If you look at it, that's what a pentatonic is. Think about it. An arpeggio of a 4-note chord is 4 notes. So a pentatonic is 5 notes. So it's actually 4 notes of an arpeggio plus 1. No one ever told me that before, and I totally missed that. I don't know why I never registered until sometime recently, but so, and you can see here that note is in white. So, but let's just talk about adding these intervals first and let it reveal something. So on minor, you can see we have root, a flat third. That's what makes it a minor. We just need a triad to start with. So root, flat third, and 5. Now, a triad really isn't going to have a 4 in it. So that's now the extra note. And the cool, convenient thing is, when we look at major, even though major has its own makeup of intervals, it's the same extra note. It's a different interval compared to the chord, but in the pattern, in the visualization, in the way you're going to jam on your fretboard, it's the same note to, we're not going to say leave out, but I treat it now with special attention, and it's taken noodling away big time, because these notes are going to really lock into the chord that you're playing, and that's going to be like your extra step. So if you treat it like a step, your solos will sound like they have some logic into them instead of just noodling. Noodling happens when you start landing on that 4 and you didn't mean to. It was just like you were doing something and you came to an end on that note, and it won't really make sense, because this note kind of neutralizes the scale, if you will, kind of adds, smooths it out and mellows it out a bit. And that may not be the intention you have. So you have to play this note with intention. You have to knowingly add it in when you feel like you need that step. Then you take that step. Okay, that's enough kind of rambling on it. So but let's hear it. Let's hear a minor chord. So I just made a whole lick out of just playing the arpeggio notes. Everything locks in. There's no question that those notes are jammable over that. Haven't played the 4 yet. Here it comes. Hammered it on for a little flavor there. But notice that that's alright. I can land on it, but then I want to resolve it. It's going to be like a tension. It's basically your first level tension. It's a great way to put it there. So all of these notes are going to be inside. They're going to be your least tense notes. Your most consonant notes are the 4 arpeggio notes. And then the first level of tension of away is this 4. And that's what makes a pentatonic do what it is. Then I resolved it by ending on the root. And, it's only the first level tension, so if it didn't sound that exciting to you, well, that's why. It's just a pentatonic. It just has one level tension to it. But that really is the way to think about this scale to make it stop sounding like noodling. Okay, because a lot of times you're just landing on that 4 with no rhyme or reason, and it's not doing what you need it to do. All right, so we get that understood. So with the major, something similar happens. Oh, let's take a look at this. So we have root, flat third, where you're saying the 4 is an extra note. We got our 5 that's our triad. Our flat 7 brings us to a 7th chord. A minor chord, at least the minor chords that are pulled from the major scale, always have a flatted 7. So you don't need that in your control box. You're just going to use that. If you change the 7, you are actually suggesting a new scale system. So that's why that note is not played there. And you would have to take special care, and why it will sound many times like a wrong note if you go and play outside the pentatonic scale. But if you can find a reason, a rhythmic reason, or there's another chord suggestion, there could be reason to use that raised 7 along with minor. But that's a big different, a rabbit hole of a different lesson. So we're not going to go there. We're just going to say that, this is a great way to handle your black keys. They're in the middle there. Don't play them. So, unless you, have a good rhyme or reason to do so. Some intention. So we have this root, flat third, 5th, flat 7, and you can see that the 4 is the extra note. Now with the major, something a little unique happens here. You would expect that with the major, you'd get the triad, the root 3, 5. We have it right there. You can see it down here, root 3, 5. So but now instead of having that major 7, like in our chord, our 1 chord, our 4 chord, pulled from the major scale, from the 1 or the 4th position, it's going to have a major 7 to it. But if we pull it from the 5, like in the key of C, G is the 5, it's going to have that flatted 7. So we need the 7s to be in our control box, and they sure are right in there. We're going to get to that. But what I'm saying is, you get this 6 in there. Now, not to worry, because the 6 is actually kind of a nice substitute for the... It's a nice chord. It's jazzy. The 6 makes a great substitute since you need the 7s as an option, but you want a 4-note chord. The 6 makes a great substitute for the 7. That's the way I like to think about the way I make sense of all this. Some wrong notes there. There's that 6. You can land on it. It doesn't sound like a... Just fits right in. Doesn't really sound like a tension. Like that 2 will. Let's try that. See, that's a tension. Let's kind of put that in the... definitely changes the chord up to me a little bit. Sounds a little more elegant, like a 7 chord, major 7. You almost can't even tell. There's the 6, raise 7. There is a difference, obviously, but definitely a lot of interchangeability. But add in that 2, put the major 7 in there, or even put the 6. Which in that case you'd call a 9. If you don't know that, then, well, there's some other videos that you can get familiar with that if you're that new. But a lot of people know that the 2s can also be a 9, the 4s that are going to be the 11, and the 6 is going to be the 13 when it comes to extensions that are way high up in the scale. It's because that's where they're coming from. It's those notes, but they're an octave higher. But typically on guitar, it's kind of interchangeable. Like if I had a 9 chord, I'm definitely hitting that 2 to have that note in my solo. I hit the 2, think of it as a 9, it's the same note, it's going to work. All right, so we know though that is the tension note, or the first level tension, and then you have the 6 chord there. So let's see something about this whole arpeggio plus 1 business and where this control surface comes from. So here's minor, right? Root. Then here's all the intervals to get to the root again. Basically the scale is here. Root, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So for a minor chord, we're choosing the root, the flat third to make it minor, and the 5th to make it a chord. Now, our pentatonic scale includes that 4th. Without it, you'd have a big leap. And you can choose that middle note to really make it a nice even stepwise motion in between that big leap area. Now, here you have just a jump. Well, that's actually kind of a leap. This is more, I would call this a jump. And that's almost unacceptable, or it's going to kind of sound missing something. So you place that 4 in there and it evens out, gives you some stepwise motion. Now, this is a leap. Now, you see that there's either stepwise motion, a whole step in the pentatonic, or there's a leap. So a step and a leap, as opposed to like a half step. You get the half steps when you add in the control surface. So this gives you the control surface. Now let's look at major. Even though we got root, there's our 2, our extra kind of note there that gives us some stepwise motion where there would be a big jump. Then we have a leap, we have a step and a leap. So you can notice that it's 3 steps, a leap, a step, a leap. So there's 3 steps, a leap, a step, and a leap. I lined them up down here so you can see it more clearly. This is why you can get a major and a minor out of a pentatonic scale, and then where the different intervals come from. You can see how it's the exact same pattern. You can see it's the exact same pattern, and it gives us this exposes the control areas. So this is where they're coming from. So with minor, again, you can see here that we get the 2s and the 6s. So you want to kind of put that in your mind, in your mind's eye, that minor gives you control over 2s and 6s, and that's going to be important. We'll see why in a second. Especially when it comes to modes or playing over a chord that is in a certain part of a scale it's coming from, like a minor chord. Am I playing a 2 chord? Well, right now it's just a minor chord. But if I know my control surface, I can play the corresponding pentatonic box and turn it into, this could be a 2 chord from the key of G. A could be a 3 chord from the key of F. F, G, A, 1, 2, 3, right? Or G, 1, A, 2, minor, right? What could also be? It could be the 6 of the key of C. I don't know why it took me so long to figure out. I had a brain fart moment there. Feeling a little stupid, but hey, we're in the middle of the lesson. We can't do nothing now, and I'm not editing that out. So anyways, you get my short takes right in the middle of the unedited from the right in the middle of the video. So anyways, we get the 2, control of the 2 or the 6s, because that is going to tell us, that would lock us into this being the 2 chord, the 3 chord, or the 6 chord, because those are the intervals that are going to make that change. And we get that right in that control box, but we just have to know it. So minor, 2s, and 6s, because major, as you can see here, the control box is coming from the same exact part of the scale, which is why it's one and the same, but we're getting the 7s and the 4s. So major controls are 4s and 7s. Why? Because you got a choice. On the major scale, you can have a major chord with a flatted 7. That's coming from the 5, the dominant chord. The other 2 major chords, let's say in the key of C from the F or from the 1, the C, are going to be major 7 chords. So you get that control right under your fingertips. And then, so the control of the 4s, if I'm playing, catering to that F, and it's the 4 chord, I'm playing in the key of C, so this F is going to be the 4 chord of the scale. Well, if I want my scale to sound correct over it, I'm going to need that sharp 4, and the control surface gives it to us. So for example, let's run that all the way through. F, major 7. Let's put it up here. F, major 7. Right? With that A minor shape down here, with that F root. Right? So we play our pentatonic from that F root that's our root note, right? And I'm going to need that sharp 4. That's informing my ear that that's a 4 chord, which comes from the key of C. You don't have to know that to know it's a 4 chord. But if there were other chords in the progression and they were all coming from the key of C, that would make perfect sense sonically. But if I played that other 4 with it, I'm playing that as the 1. Maybe I'm playing in the key of F, and that's just a 1 chord. You see, they both sound good. Now here's a sharp 4. Sharp 4. It's got that spine tingling kind of haunted sound when you raise that 4th. Uplift the music a little bit. Alright, so these are the variables that make the basic triads specific plugins. So that's what we were just talking about. You can turn this control area plugs these chords in specifically in a certain, you pigeonhole your sound basically. So if you don't want to pigeonhole your sound, you just play the pentatonic, and it's useful over any of these chords. However, you won't get the custom specific sound that may be making, that's really what makes Lydian have that special sound, is capturing that sharp 4 in your playing. So this is why this is important. But super easy because it's all inside the pentatonic, like you never knew before. So the remaining notes are the final outside notes that are controlled in box 2. We said we would go over this, and now here we are. They're not colored. They're X, Y, and Z, which is also octave. It's these 2 notes out here that, like when we hang our notes, the control box notes are going to be here and here. That leaves Z and X here. It's just the same exact black key notes. This is 3 of the black keys. So where's the other 2 black keys? Well, you're only going to choose one of these and one of these. That'll make these other 2 notes the black keys. So you'll have total of 5 black keys available to you. So here's a pentatonic scale. Here's the black keys. Or actually it would sound like this. So there's with our control notes. Now the black keys. Run across the black key. You can see that's where many of those have that jazz sound when you grace them and you get them specifically into a chord tone. This is just me being really random with black keys. You have an opinion over what it sounded like. So anyways, we have control over all 12 notes. Once we realize this, that's it. What else is there? Pentatonic gives you control over all 12 notes. What else are you looking for? What special scale do you think there is? Because also realize that pentatonic, with one more change that I may or may not get to in this lesson, but I just got to it in the very last lesson before this, pentatonic can get you to Lydian dominant, which is part of the melodic minor scale, which is a whole different scale setup, but the pentatonic can still get you there. Crazy, right? So that being said, the only thing left is harmonic major and minor, or the half whole tone, and those are going to be, half whole tone is going to be like very symmetrical. A whole tone scale is going to be really symmetrical. Totally, you don't even need pentatonic to think about that. You're not going to use them probably very much until you're making, your Frank Zappa type of music. And then the harmonic major and minor, also pretty useful for Frank Zappa type composing. Those are going to be, basically, you can still consider those pentatonics with like a slight alteration, but we're not going to get to those in this lesson. So, moving on. The control surface then. So let's see this kind of plus kind of. So here, basically, this is what I was trying to talk about earlier, and apparently they jumped ahead a little bit. But so like you can see the pentatonic scale here is root, flat third, the minor pentatonic, root, flat third, 5, flat 7, and plus the 4. Cool, there it is right there. And then major works as root, then the third, then the 5th, and the 6th. And the 6 has that exclamation point, but we already discussed it's, replacing the 7, which we need as a control surface. So then the 2 is the plus note. That's actually the like first level tension is the way I like to think about it. Now, when it comes to jamming this all over the fretboard, what I'm going to teach you here about this control surface in this big box, you just simply add that anywhere you find this big box is in every single one of the shapes. So no matter where you are on the fretboard, you're going to find this big box, and you're going to know, like, so here I'm going to plug some notes into the big box here. Plug the regular 4 and then major 7. Like a major scale. So it would be right here. It would be right here. Try to get you into the camera there. There it is again, and basically we've covered the whole fretboard. What, it's up here too? Or it's up here? No, it's not. It's here. Forgot where it was, but anyways, you got this. You got your pentatonic square here. On the now it's by string pairs, and it's the diagonal. If that doesn't make any sense to you, you haven't been watching my channel. It's been 8 million lessons discussing the diagonal nature of your fretboard and how everything repeats and how to find shapes. And then you have the other version where it's Alright, so I'm being an idiot here, but so there's you getting all over the fretboard once you know where all these shapes are. Alright, so and how they just link diagonally across the fretboard. And in each one of those big boxes was a control surface. So I could have plugged whatever scale I needed into all over the fretboard just by knowing the big box and the control surface area inside. And if I was playing a major, a minor, a Lydian dominant, whatever the case. All right, so I was just trying to show you my, there are 5 pentatonic shapes, but I can navigate the entire fretboard by using this friendly old shape, and I use this shape a lot now. This was like my least favorite shape when I started learning pentatonics. I thought, who the hell would memorize this awkward looking shape? I'm telling you, man, I love it. It's like the best shape you can have. And this is your level 1 control surface. The level 1 tension. We'll put L for that. So if I was playing. So there's the pentatonic without that special note. Now here's it added in. See, it sounds like the other place. Now the arpeggio. Could you tell when I went to the other place? That is the extra note there from the pentatonic. Start playing it with intention and get off the cigarettes if I'm going to copy that other teacher. All right, so you know who it is. All right, so now going on from here, then you have the well, we already went over that, and the control surfaces. Just I had moved that down. Get on to my last sheet here. So here's the whole thing together, and I'll fill in this for you here. So let's say, for example, let's try this as a little test area here. I'm playing minor pentatonic, and my minor pentatonic, I'm playing in the third chord of the scale. So in the key of C, that'd be E. Well, the third is going to have, you should know, you're going to have to know this eventually, or you don't have to, but it's great to know, your modal order out of the major scale. 1, Ionian, 2, Dorian, 3, Phrygian. See how easy that is? There was a time I had no idea what that meant. Practice it a little bit. It was so easy to memorize because there's only 6 of them. Learn the order. It's really easy. The equivalence there from the 1 chord, Ionian. From the 2 chord, the sound is Dorian. It's got a sound. The 3rd chord, Phrygian. Well, why is it Phrygian? It's got that sound. It's got a flat 2. Hey, if I need the flat 2, I'm going to take my control surface and I'm going to use this one because with minor, I need that flat 2. Well, there it is. Now, that scale also has the normal 6, the same 6 as the Aeolian scale. So, well, what's the Aeolian scale? What's that difference? Well, that uses the regular 2. That's the only difference. And this stuff, it's like, oh, I don't know all that stuff. But if you start getting that, then you come back here and you with this information and you just plug it in as easy as day. So right here, and you can also memorize this by shapes. This gives you a square, and it's connected to all my fretboard navigation lessons. Use this square. If you've been following this channel through the years, this is all like, oh, cool. And then you may need, if you don't know any of this, you can go back a couple of years of lessons, and had this channel for like almost 10 years now, I think. Go back and watch any of the how to jam across the fretboard, how to play any mode, anytime, anywhere, and you'll start to get all this stuff and see how it's the same information, really. Just kind of looking at it from a different perspective today and seeing how the pentatonic scale is not a get out of the how to break out of the pentatonic box. Anyone who's selling you that lesson is basically full of shit. I just saw it the other day, how to break out of the pentatonic box, and it's just so crafty because people think that, so you can sell all kinds of people lessons just based on that concept. Think of how lucky you are that how many people are not going to see this lesson. They just don't connect to it. It doesn't have that super awesome headline, unless I don't know what the title of the video is. Yeah, maybe I make it viral. I don't know, but you saw this and you get the real information about how the pentatonic is basically the scale for a good reason. This is it. So flat 2, flat 6. Let's hear how that sounds. Very tense. Why is it tense? Let's talk about it like this. Let's say we use that natural 2, not the and. We want the 2 there, so let's highlight this. Let's give it some color. Let's take this out of the way. Calgon, take us away, because I'm old like that. All right, so there's our formula for a regular minor. You would have the 5. Let's play it down in A minor. And then the 2. So you can hear how that's a pretty normal minor sound that's just standard minor. Now, one thing to do, and we've talked about this in my modal lessons, is understand the way we've plugged in here. We've got like the balance happening. We've got a low note on the low side. Call this the low side because it's, we play this way to get higher notes and that way to get lower notes. So lower note on the low side, higher note on the high side. That's kind of like our balanced scale. When we lower this down, we've got more tension, and we just heard that with the Phrygian scale we played. So I think I was playing D earlier when I said E. But anyways, who knows? Who cares? You can see how, this also has like a sonic understanding. When you lower that, you've got a darker scale. My only other option is to, within the major scale, is to take this and raise it. And if I did, that's going to be a brighter scale. What's brighter than, if we're on minor, what's brighter than minor? Remember, we're still dealing with the 2s and the 6s. So if I raise this, I have a raised 6. Now, how many times have you heard somebody talking about Dorian and they said raised 6, and you had no idea what they were talking about when it was this simple all along? I switch it to that note, and now we'll go back to D, because in the major scale, that is the 2. In the C major scale, the 2 chord is D minor, and D, the second chord of the scale, is going to bring because the scale has that B note in it, B, C. So as opposed to, I'm going to lower that 6 and let's hear it. This just kind of sounds kind of regular. But if I raise that 6, kind of gives it like a light at the end of the tunnel, a melancholic, not so sad, sort of. There's a little bit of raised emotion, even though it's minor and still sad. Well, you raised a note, and Dorian is brighter than Aeolian, and Phrygian is darker than Aeolian. So, if they're both notes are on this side, it's darker. If both notes are on this side, it's brighter. And if you have one of each, it's neutral or natural. Natural minor, Aeolian. Natural major, Ionian. Right? So you say, wait a minute, how does this relate to major? Let's do it. Let's do this again to show you this. And there's a missing configuration, but I'm going to go over that at the end. That's where we get to Lydian dominant, which we just went over in the last lesson. So we'll start like this, but if this was, now we're considering our root on this side. So now we have a major root, so this will work with a major chord. And this is no longer going to be a 6 and a 7. This would actually be the sharp. This is brighter, right? Well, what's brighter than Ionian? That's the Lydian scale. What does a Lydian scale have? It has a sharp 4, not a regular 4. And if you just do something, you might, sounds confusing at first. Well, how do I know which one has raised and Lydian is raised and this one's this and that? It sounds so confusing at first, but it's all notes coming from the scale. So this is A, B, C, D. In the key of C, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so we have a B. So if I play my pentatonic up here, starting with D, the gut notes, the yellow notes that we're playing in the control surface, I'm going to naturally play that A, B, C, D, E, F. It's here, from here, it's got a raised 4th. Now you say, well, Mark, you're back to minor with D. D minor pentatonic and a raised 4th. Well, look at the other side of that pentatonic. What note does it land on? F. F is what in the key of C? C, D, E, F. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the 4. 4 is Lydian. And what do you know? That B is going to be the sharp 4 in Lydian. We can just play the root, get that pitch axis theory type of thing going. You can hear it's that. As opposed to na 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 na. This is normal, yeah. This is raised up, yeah. Subtle, but it's there. It's what we're raising the tone. Those are relatives, so that's why D minor goes with F major. Those are actually relatives. This is the same way A minor and C are found as relatives. And you can think about that. Oh yeah, the C major scale has a relative minor. It's A minor. If we were considering like the D major scale, it's relative minor, or D minor scale. Its relative major is F. E, G. Pick any note and put a pentatonic there, and you have the relatives of each other. And most people just equate the relatives as relative major and relative minor, Ionian and Aeolian. But in the major scale, they're all relatives in this way. Like, so for example, D Dorian is the relative of F Lydian. Their brighter minor is a relative of brighter major. Darker major, darker minor. G Mixolydian, the darker major scale, is is the relative major of E. You see it in the pentatonic scale. E, G. E, G. E minor, the 3, or G major, pentatonic, or G major, Mixolydian. Alright. They're very subtle, so when you're just playing it in little noodly things like that, it doesn't really jump out at you sonically. The big major, when you get a lot of notes, playing these specific chords in a specific, coming from a key, then you apply the correct scale over it, it has that big Mixolydian sound, or that big Phrygian sound, whatever you want. So anyways, with major, there's our control surface. If I want a regular 4, I'm going to choose this note. Regular 4 with a raised 7. That's a major chord. A regular 4 with a flatted 7, well, that's always going to be, even though a 4 is not in the chord, it's going to be equivalent. It's going to be workable with like a dominant 7th chord. So you say, what about a sharp 4 with a dominant 7? Well, you don't find that in the major scale. And let's hear it. Here's the 3. Try to play it. You see, it's very dissonant. Doesn't even sound like it fits. But that is coming from that is where this configuration here, I'll show you right here. Let's erase some things here so we'll avoid confusion. Confucius say, we'll even erase that guy. And we're going to bring this back to white. Now, what if I choose this control surface and this control tile, right? We got this tile and that tile. Now, this configuration is not found in the major scale. But where is it found? That's found in the melodic minor scale. And on the outside here, we'd hang them high here and here. If that doesn't make a lot of sense, I could have gone back here. Like, for example, well, where was it? Oh, well, I was going to do it here. So, for example, like if I were to hang these notes on the outside, let's say I want the 6 and the 2, right? So it's on this side of the square. So you can see here the 6 is going to be here. The 2 is going to be here, right? But let's say I wanted the flat 6 and the flat 2. Well, that's right next to the 5 and right next to the root. So you can see it's going to be here and here. Part of our larger box, which is there, where we talked about earlier how this is actually an inverse shape of this same old box here with the control surface inside. So like if I wanted the 6 and the 2, they're going to be out here, over here. But if I was playing the like flat 2 and flat 6, they would hang out here. And you should be recognizing this as like, oh yeah, that's this scale shape. Or this scale shape. Both pentatonic frameworks, or this shape. So you can have like this configuration, you can have this configuration, you can have this one and this one. Now if I use this one here, I actually plug them in on this side here, outside and outside. To me that's like memorable. I don't know about you, but so here I can show you here. So let's say I wanted the 4 and the 7 here. I would want this note and this note on this side. And you can recognize that as the what you might call, you might have learned this as the Phrygian shape. And there's a reason that they would call that, but it can confuse you. This is how you really want to understand all this stuff. But you know your different shapes, and it starts to all. The good thing about this is like it overlaps all the information you already know or you're building on right now. So that reinforces things. It's not like learning something new, and it's like, I forgot that now. I forgot the other thing I learned yesterday. It's like there's no forgetting because this is all overlapping information you already knew. So you already knew the pentatonic. You've already known some of these shapes as major scale shapes. All right. So, but when we got this shape here, and we hang the proper notes on the outside here, you've actually got the melodic minor. Now, when we put the root right here, this is coming off the fourth note of the melodic minor scale. I think it's the fourth. I don't know. I could be wrong. And it really doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. But the point is that if the root is here, you notice it's not here or here like it was for minor and major. It's now here. This is now going to be Lydian dominant. So let's say I want C Lydian dominant. I know my C is right after the B, the octave note on the 12th fret, on that string that we're talking about here, the B string. So we'll go up to the C. So if I play this, you can hear you gotta kind of play the notes just right. It'll sound awkward without any reference. It'll sound actually usually kind of shitty, and you won't know why you'd ever use it. But if you had the right chord, it's a root, major 7 with a minor third. Let's see those intervals pile up here. So for example, we have that our raised 7 that we were just talking about, but it comes with a minor third. So this would be root. This is, I believe, is that a 2? And then the flat 3. And then the 4. Yeah, there it is right there. There it is. So you get the, this is the interval package that you'll get, and you say there's 3 and the 7. That's going to be here. So like here's the octave of the root right here, and that means that that's going to be the 7. And then here is the root. What comes after root? A 2. What's after the 2? That flatted third. And there's the basics of our scale. And you've got the, after the flat 3, you've got a 4, which we already found out we have. We have a 5 to complete our triad there. And so, yeah, there is our scale as we it's the scale as we know it. So, like for example, this is with the chord I was playing. Had a root here, the 7 here. It had the flatted third here. So you can see there's the octave pattern there, and then the 5 was here, 5 just before 6, and that was this chord: C, major 7, flatted third, 5. An enigmatic chord. It's sad, but it has that raised 7th, as opposed to a regular minor, which had the flatted 7th. That's a little more normal sounding, right? There's that Lydian dominant sound. I'd call that 6 the odd man out there. I'd play that as the choice note there, the probably first level tension. But there you have it. So yeah, we got our big control surface. We've discussed how then in between here you've just basically got the leftover. The only 3 notes that are left are found right in the middle there. You figure out what to do with them. Turn them into that. You can turn them into jazzy notes by playing with the beat, putting them on the and then that's going on a strong beat on the 1. You're going from an and to a 1, an and to a 3, and talking about beats here, and you can figure out how to work those in. But and you know, there's only those three notes left. Where do you think jazz is? Those jazz flavors are coming from? That when they don't seem to be found necessarily in the pentatonic scale, even though a lot of them are. Um, there you have it. So I'll leave you with that, folks. Hopefully, there was something vague about this lesson and it left you with a question. Well, there's the place down below. Ask a question, and you shall be answered. Probably snarky because I don't know. Sometimes the questions get under my skin. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm not trying. But somebody left a comment. Just ask a question. No need to tell me that it was long winded. I know. That's how this stuff is. It's music theory. It's a lot of yapping and blabbing about things that a lot of people like get lost on really quick. So if you got lost, ask me and I can make the lesson a little clearer coming up. But you've always got the stop and the rewind too, as well as clicking down below on that buy me a coffee, because that's the most important thing um, to get some kind of lesson compensation. It'd be nice. I probably should start giving official lessons in my area if I can stop doing this trucking job that I do, leaving me all over the country. And right now I'm giving you this lesson. I'm creating this lesson next to the automotive department in a Walmart parking lot in Florence, Kentucky. So if you know where your Walmart is in Florence, yeah, that's where I am right now. But I won't be here tomorrow. Anyways, that's me rambling. So you guys have a great night. I appreciate everything. Check out other links. You can buy some t-shirts and merchandise for your studios. Mind's Eye merchandise, of course. And we'll see you next time. Leave a comment about what kind of lesson you want to learn, what kind of concept you want to learn, and where we can find it on our fretboard to visualize. Mind's Eye Visual Guitar Methods. See you guys later.